Hello, everyone. I am Jacinta, and I will be guiding you today on our study about the topic of mediumship. I am a researcher and a writer for more than 30 years in this field of spirituality. So I'm very excited to be engaging and sharing with you this amazing team. Let's start our study with the slides showing the impacts of mediumship in everyday life. Communication with the spiritual world is a very complex theme, so we separate it in topics: defining mediumship, history of mediumship, difference between spiritualism and spiritism, types of mediums and their abilities, mediumistic practice, impact of the mediumship on people and society. I chose to have this image in black and white so we can start understanding that nothing in our life is in black and white, especially in mediumship. The challenges and the um, things we share between the visible world and the invisible world are absolutely complex and in many different levels and capacities. So we cannot expect only yes or no or black and white. We have to be flexible and try to see beyond what we can see with our physical eyes. Having this said, let's try to define mediumship in a very simple way. Everything else you will find on the Book of Spirits and also the Book of Mediums, written by Allan Kardec, with all the answers to our more complex questions. Today, we will only have a glimpse on the whole subject of mediumship and try to bring some clarity to our understanding. So the term mediumship comes from the Latin word medium, which means middle or intermediate. Thus, mediumship is a term that refers to the ability of some people to communicate with the spirits or entities that inhabit the spiritual plane, or the spiritual realm, or the astral realm, as we also can call. Therefore, mediums are the channels or the conduits between the physical and the spiritual world. Here is an image of the biblical dispute between Saul, the king, and the spirits that is depicted in the Bible. Let's see. The history of mediumship will explain a little bit of this. In different cultures, mediumship is also present. Communication with the beyond has always been part of the human experience, evidenced by the reports found in various civilizations throughout history, being seen as the bridge between the physical and the spiritual worlds. This skill has been revered, feared, and studied throughout the ages. In the next slides, we will see the difference between mediumship in the specific meaning of the term. This ancient mediumistic practice were done in different ways or in different cultures, especially in primitive cultures. Shamans, priests, and oracles were mediators between gods and men. There was always a person to be the intermediary between this invisible world and the physical world, especially the kings and the important people. They used to have an oracle to consult about the decisions they had to make. The Greek world especially had this oracle of Delphi, channeling messages from the gods. And there was an inscription on top of the Delphi temple in the island saying, self-reflection is the summary of this. Know thyself. That is very famous to us. The maxim encouraged self-reflection and understanding of one's own nature, strengths, and limitations. Uh, in summary, the oracles or the shamans, the priests, all these intermediaries between the worlds, they were always trying to lead the man to see beyond. It means starting to know yourself, then you will see further than only what is happening to you here. Then other religions also had mediumistic practices. In Buddhism, communication with spirits and entities is part of their history. In early Christianity, like I was saying, the prophets and apostles were considered mediums of the Holy Spirit. It was not everybody that could talk to Yahweh or God. Only the apostles or the prophets or important people specifically working with that, they could speak to the gods or one god specifically. In African traditions, the shamanics, Celtic religions, they used to contact with ancestors. It was an essential part of their life and the spiritual wisdom. Mediumship is always the channel through which exchanges with the invisible plane take place. You can see the images here of a shaman and also a monk. This is very famous on internet. This monk was had his brain scanned while he was meditating. It was part of a research where scientists tried to map the brain of a person in trance. It can be by meditation, it can be by prayer, it can be in another state like alpha state. So this monk was in meditation when they studied his brain, and they found out very important and interesting things. We will see a little bit further. Then spiritism come to light. The emergence of spiritism changed everything because Allan Kardec codified, organized, put together in a system the understanding of mediumship and communication with spirits. The Spirits book was launched on 1857, and the Mediums book was launched on 1861. Since then, Spiritism organized the understanding of all the subjects related to the communication between our material world and the spiritual world. It's important to clarify that Spiritism is an spiritualistic doctrine, but not all spiritualism is Spiritism. It means spiritualism means a broader concept that encompasses various beliefs in the existence of spiritual reality beyond matter. Being unspiritualistic means you believe that there is something beyond this world, but Spiritism has a very specific doctrine, a set of beliefs, an organized knowledge. So Spiritism goes beyond spiritualism. That's the difference. Then there is a quote from the Medium's book here, when Kardec explains that being a medium, meaning this faculty, is part of the man, is inherent to man. It does not constitute an exclusive privilege. For this very reason, there are few people who do not possess some rudiments of mediumship. It can therefore be said that everyone is more or less a medium. However, we usually classify as mediums those in whom the mediumistic faculty is very evident with more intense effects. This depends on a more or less sensitive body. However, this faculty does not reveal itself in the same way in everyone. We always say this when we are studying in the group GEAC, or any other group. Everybody is a medium. The difference is some people have more abilities or sensitiveness, and some people have it dormant or quiet, or in a way that you don't even understand that this is mediunity. Then it's important to know, but what is a medium? Let's see here. The types of mediums and their abilities. What is a medium? Anyone who feels in any degree the influence of spirits is by this fact a medium. That is, any person able to receive or transmit communications from spirits, whatever the mode employed and the degree of development of this faculty, from the simple occult influence or the production of the most unusual phenomenon, it's a medium. Then we have recent research, very recent, last month or 2 months ago, coordinated by the University of São Paulo. They identified 33 genes with variants found exclusively in gifted mediums. They study a group of more than 15,000 people and compared these people with their relatives to show there was not a very big difference in the genetics. They picked the relatives and the medium and studied them inside this study. So the findings suggested the potential genetic basis for mediumistic experiences because they found different sets of genes specifically in these people, which is very interesting for the future of understanding mediumship. People usually thought about this as something special or something different that only some people could have. But in fact, everybody has it in one degree or another. Here in the image, we see a boy playing with his invisible friends. You can see behind him a figure that can be his grandma or another protector. But usually when they are children until 7 years old, they see much more because the pair spirit is still not completely connected to this life. They still bring a lot of memories from past lives. So it's easy for children in this age to see spirits more than to us. Let's start a very interesting topic that will take us a little bit more time to understand or grasp the basic concepts and types of mediumship. This is the mediumship of physical effects. This picture here shows Francisco Xavier, the most famous medium we had in Brazil. He's already returned to the spiritual world, but he worked for 90 years during all his life on earth. And here, I think this was in the 50s, 1950, they made lots of experiences with materialization of spirits. In this phenomenon, there was a medium called Francisco Peixoto, another Francisco. This in the picture is Francisco Xavier, the medium, and the other one that produced the phenomena was Peixoto. He was a great medium of materialization and physical effects. Though through his intervention, several materialization sessions were held, which become known as luminous materialization. And there was a book published with the same name by a journalist called Ranieri, recording all this work and trying to explain how this happened on the sessions. This mediumship of physical effects includes production of sounds, this materialization, objects movement, mechanical mediums, or other phenomena that is implied here. But do you know how this kind of materialization happens? It comes from the use of one substance that we have in our bodies. named ectoplasm. It's a semi-material substance that uses part of the substance we produce in our bodies, which is part of the metabolism and part of spiritual substances. And with this delicate substance, using the plasma of psychic origin, make possible for the spirits to show a physical form, a sort of physical form. If you pay attention to all the pictures that we have about materialization, you will see that the forms are not very well defined. Sometimes they don't have faces or they don't have a complete body. This is because it's absolutely difficult to perform such a phenomenon. And that's why in a few years, the spirits decided that it is no longer time for us to do this. We are now in the mind era. So we are more studying and understanding things more than only trying to see spirits materialized. But it was important to bring you here this subject and on the next slides as well, so we can understand a little bit more about materialization. And if you want to know more about this, you have to study the topic ectoplasm, so you will understand. This is the medium Nina Kulagina, which was a Russian lady that for many years was a subject of study. In this book, Investigating Psychics, the author claims that Nina Kulagina was filmed separating broken eggs that had been submerged in water, moving apart the whites and yolks, during which event such physical changes were recorded. This is also like the monk having his brain mapped during meditation. They record her heartbeat, brain waves, electromagnetic field, and trying to ensure that external electromagnetic impulses did not interfere. She was placed inside a metal cage that is a Faraday cage, while she supposedly demonstrated an ability to remove a marked matchstick from a pile of matchsticks under a glass dome. It's very specific, this experiment. But this is showing that not only in Brazil, but in Russia and the United States and many places in England, they have experiences with materialization, and also in Norway. We will see further. The rise of Spiritism in Norway happened, let me try to remove these from here. The spiritualism gained traction in Norway in the mid-80s, 1880, with Ben Torstensson, actions being a key factor in its growth. At that time, when Spiritism was still commonplace for mockery, laughter, and persecution, Torstensson began the publication of a newspaper, the first notable spiritualist journal in the Nordic region, and it lasted for around 40 years until 1926. In 1888, he founded the Spiritist Society, and he began to translate and publish numerous larger and smaller spiritualistic masterpieces, including several of Kardec's books. By 1922, this Spiritist Society had 299 members, including very prominent and important people such the Prime Minister, the Aftenposten editor, the Freies director, ship owners, doctors, engineers, and professors, meaning that Spiritism in its beginnings, it was a very elitist subject. The intellectuals were very interested in the topic of Spiritism because they wanted to understand what was very popular in that time, the rounding tables and the tables answering questions. Everything was very material, and everything was about the phenomenon. Then, the same year, this society in 1922, the society in Norway invited Danish medium Einar Nielsen to Norway. He was photographed in a dark chamber with ectoplasm flowing from his mouth. At that moment, he was exposed. He was faking it using textile fabric with which he simulated the ectoplasmic creations. Let's see about this in the end of this, by the end of this slide. Then Danish medium Anna Rasmussen was also exposed when she wrote on her spirit tablets with her feet under the table, faking also the writings. The Kober affair caused a scandal in the 1930s. In 1934, Norwegian magistrate Dahl drowned during a swim at Hanko. His daughter, Ingeborg, was the only witness and was later jailed for over 6 months, suspected of involvement in his death. The case gained international attention due to its involvement with Spiritism. It was discussed in Stortinget. The case remains a notable legal and cultural scandal in Norwegian history. It raised questions about justice, mental health, class privilege, and the role of Spiritism in society. For that history, you can see that the rise of Spiritism in Norway didn't have a very good start. The authors in some books say the Spiritism was never very popular in Norway before the Second World War. Only after the Second World War, some people started again finding out about this subject, and especially after the 90s, when Christina from Jacques found the information about Torstensen on the library in Oslo, then she brought to light this amazing material, which was the collection of newspapers he published and the research he did and all the information about Spiritism, Allan Kardec, and all this knowledge that was a little bit lost, especially because of this scandal on 1934 about the magistrate Dahl. And because the society started questioning mental health, class privilege, and the role of Spiritism in society, this was kind of forgot. And nobody talked about this anymore. Following the trend all over the world of thinking about everything that belongs to faith and it's not seen by the material eyes, thinking about this as a creation of crazy people or delusional people, because when you don't study and you don't understand, it's very easy to mistake this for fake things. As in Brazil, we are blessed with these amazing mediums like Francisco Xavier and Divaldo Franco, that is still working at the age of 97 years old. We have more than 1,000 books explaining about this phenomena, not only Spiritism, but the experience the mediums have with Spiritism. So we are more served with information that we can research and prove. And like these scientists now in Brazil from University of São Paulo and also from another university, they publish several articles talking about mediumship, talking about communication with spirits, talking about the feelings, the sensations, the physical manifestations. And this makes easy for us to understand this in from another point of view. Besides this, during many years, people were still seeking materialization, like you would only believe in the life of the spirits or the life beyond death or the life in the afterlife if you could see the spirits. The test for us, like Kardec says in his books, is that we have to understand using our logic, using our understanding. Seeing things with our eyes, it would be only easy, and very easily we would forget, as it's said in the Bible as well. Uh, one of the old guys from the Bible, Abraham, he asks God to send a spirit to talk to his brother about life after death. And the God, which was not God, was a spirit. He says, I will not do such thing, because even if a spirit comes to talk to the people on earth, they will find a way to disbelieve. They will find a way to say, this is a lie or this is a creation, especially in our world today with all this technology. People continue thinking everything is fake. So if your faith or understanding or knowledge about this amazing information brought by Spiritism is not broadened, you will not be able to understand. Then let's go to the next kind of mediumship. Besides the physical effects mediumship, we have the intellectual effects mediumship, which is 90% of the time happening with all the mediums. It is characterized by the communication of ideas and thoughts, often through writing or inspired speech, psychography, and mediunic dialogue. Here you can see on the left a group of people around the table studying and working in the diálogo fraterno, as we call, the friendly dialogue with spirits. Then you see some spirits that are a little bit darker. Then you see a mentor holding a sort of tablet, trying to give the information to the medium that is on the dialogue. On the right, you see a picture that represents Francisco Xavier. He was one of a kind, because he was not only having the inspiration or intuition from the mentors, he also had a very special kind of mediumship, which was mechanic mediumship, meaning the spirits would influence directly on the chakras on his shoulders, taking the influence of his arm and writing with the spirit letter, the spirit calligraphy, and the spirit information. Chico Xavier didn't know how to speak French or English or German, and yet he wrote many different texts in these languages because it was not passing through his mind, only through mechanically through his arm, meaning he was the pen or the pencil of the spirits in a sort of a way. Then we come to the brain, like I was saying now. The brain is the machine and an organ for the spirit manifestation. Here is a part of a book that we have in Jacques. Unfortunately, we don't have this book in English. I actually searched a lot on internet about books that could discuss or show more about mediumship in English, but I couldn't find any. Maybe there is another way. In the library in Jack, we have these books that Palhano Jr. wrote about trance and mediumship. And we have mediumship by other authors as well, explaining the steps of the work and also explaining how the mediums feel. And here it says, in general, all human beings send and receive mental waves. Each one established mental exchange according to the frequency of his mental waves, which in turn obeys the field of interest in which the mind is located. The medium is precisely the person who can capture, decode, and transmit the ideas and feelings he receives. There is a researcher, a scientist, and a doctor in Brazil. Name is Sergio Oliveira. He researches specifically the pineal gland. And this is what is shown on the picture, because we can consider that the pineal is the antenna from which we can capture the information from the spirits. It's formed by crystals and some other substances that make it possible for this atonement and to be tuned on the spiritual waves. And you can see here that it says, establish mental exchange according to the frequency of these mental waves and obeys the field of interest in which the mind is located. It means when you have more knowledge or more information and you know more about a subject, it's easier for the spirit to communicate through you, because then the spirit will find this information already in your mind. It is not easy to talk about you, for example, about a volcano or how you feel about a volcano if you have never been close to such thing. You don't have the words, you don't have the feelings, you don't have the reference to discuss or to talk about something that is very strange to you. I didn't find a better example now, but let's think about things we absolutely don't know or we know nothing about, and how the spirit can find the words to express himself through you. Then it means the medium or the person in general have the obligation to study, learn, and be more into the subjects that you have to discuss. But of course, you cannot know about everything. But the more you know about the ideas of spiritism, evolution, and development, equality, or how men and women develop in the same way, and why society stood for so many years stationary in prejudice and everything else that we know about. More you open your mind, more ideas and feelings you can receive. It will be easier for the spirit to work with more information. Then here we're going to have a little bit about the mediumistic practice and the signs of sensitivity. In addition to the psychic disturbances, there are also several other signs that indicate the emergency of faculties, and that is different according to their nature. This is not a guide. This is not something that says it has to be like that. These are just some examples that Edgar Armand brings in his book Mediunity. And you can try to see some of these things and relate to some of these things. Maybe you don't relate to them, but maybe you have some of it and you can understand that this might be a sign that your mediumship is coming more to the surface or being more active. Let's see. Goosebumps or tremors throughout the body, heaviness in the back, legs, and arms. You can feel some of these or all of these things when a spirit comes closer to you. And why is that? If a spirit that has no body, no material body, gets close to a person with a material body, it's a difference in energy, in a difference in electromagnetism. because we have our physical body, then we have our spirit living within, but we have our emanation, which is the aura, and the double. We have, we call the etheric double, which is part of our incarnation and makes possible for the spirit to be connected to our physical body. It means we have uh, different waves or energy. And for the spirit to be close to us, we can feel the difference because it will interfere in our energy. So we feel goosebumps as we are getting close to a cold window, and you feel cold, you feel the goosebumps. You can feel the heaviness in the back, and you can feel your arms and legs heavy because it's a difference of energy in different dimensions. You can feel the tingling on the limbs, especially in the hands. You can feel drastic mood swings. You are happy and then you're sad. You are confident and then you have fear. You are okay and happy and then you are angry. This change of feelings is also because the difference of the influence you are getting. Depending if you have a good spirit close to you, then you will feel joy. If you have a spirit that is lost or unbalanced, then you can feel the same feelings he is feeling. You can have strange ideas and impulses. You can have a sensation of a lump in the throat region, meaning that you might have the psychophonic ability. So it's the spirit trying to communicate to you. You can feel sleep, heavy eyelids. You can yawn or have watery eyes, especially when you are in a group meeting, in a spiritist group. Sometimes you just feel a lot of these sleepy and heavy eyelids because you are under the influence of a spirit or only a presence that is by your side. You can feel cold sweat in the hands. You can feel dizziness, nausea, shortness of breath, heart rate like accelerate or tachycardia, because once more, the difference in energy, the difference in vibration will make the difference between you and the spirit. It's an exchange of energy between these two different persons, let's say. You can have dreams and visions or hearing. And about the fluids, they act on the perispirit of the sensitive, which means you, producing a good or a bad impression, causing a mild and restorative or violent and painful reaction according to the vibratory content. And this brings us to the moment we are living in the world when people talk a lot about neurodiversity, about autism, about ADHD, about borderline, about all these mental states. And sometimes this is only the mediumship coming to light, and you just don't know about that. It's just the sensitivity arising, the sensitiveness bringing more feelings, different feelings and confusion to your mind. Sometimes you were disturbed by different thoughts or having suicidal ideas or having a grudge with a person. Everything that is happening inside you can represent influence of a spirit, but it's also some part of yourself because you are also a spirit. You came to this life with your past within you. You are not only the person that lives now. You are a summary of many other personalities that lived before, that had different experiences, that have deception, that have sadness, that have remorse, that have fights. So you have a complex being inside your mind, which is your spirit. Therefore, with the influence of the spirits, this can come to light, this can surface, and you can be confused in certain times of your life when you have more challenges, when you have more difficulties. Because some people have money challenge, some people have health challenges, some others have relationship challenges. It depends on what you need to learn. And that's why it's so important to know yourself. Like the oracle said at the beginning, we were talking about, it's very important to know yourself and also to know this subject, for example, about mediumship. Because if you have this extra ability in yourself, you have the ability to read and write, you have your obligations during the day, but you carry within you also the ability of feel what is not seen by the physical eye. Then you have to understand and learn to differentiate. Here are examples of how the mind, thoughts, ideas, and feelings can interact in our daily life. There is this phenomenon or event of telepathy. It means, in the description, you say transmission or reception of thoughts. And when it says this is an animistic event, it means it's created by the spirit that is inside the body, the anima, which is our spirit, our soul. The transmission or reception of thoughts uses our physical equipment to happen. This is telepathy, because you can have these episodes in your life and you might remember times that you started thinking about a person and then this person called you, or oh, I was thinking about you as well. This is the telepathic waves we are sending and communicating with each other even at a distance. Then there is the inspiration. It is the reception of ideas, thoughts, and feelings without the medium knowing their origin, considering them as their own. This is a mediumistic event. The spirits will come close to you, like we saw on this slide. I will show you here. These spirits are behind the medium, and they are inspiring the medium about what he has to write, or maybe there's other spirits that are trying to help the person who is in the friendly dialogue to talk or to discuss. Maybe here during this study, no matter if I prepare the slides, if I study and learn, I can have the inspiration of good spirits, bringing ideas and thoughts to help the people on the other side of this camera to understand about this topic. Then this is an inspiration. There is the intuition or the insight. This is the reception of ideas, thoughts, and feelings by the medium who knows their origin and transmits them to others through mediumistic channels. Intuition or insight can be the reception of ideas from other spirits, or you can have the intuition from things you know from your past lives, from your own knowledge. Imagine that on this life you study a lot and you know a lot of subjects, you have a large knowledge, and then you die. On the next life, when you come to life again, you will have all this baggage, all this luggage within you. And then you can have the intuition of something that you didn't study. I maybe was an engineer and now I know how to fix something because I have this uh, inner knowledge about the subject. And you can have the spirits coming close to you and using your knowledge through your intuition to bring the ideas. The premonition, oh, by the way, Kardec talks about all these points on the Medium's book. It's if someone wants to know more about this, it is there on the book. Then there is the premonition, is a vague intuition or a distant or future event. For example, you know, your phone rings and you know, oh, I know who is this. You know the person who is calling you even before you look at the phone. Or you know what will happen in the immediate moment following what you were doing because you have this premonition. This is a vague intuition, or you can be stepping on the future for a brief moment. The prophecy is another, let's say, another step of premonition. It would be precognition, meaning I know something that still didn't happen. It's an intuition, an information, or a clear vision of future events. Then it would be very important to have trust in these mediums if their prophecies are confirmed in the presence of witness. Then you could trust that these mediums were really having a premonition or a precognition of future events. These are very complex subjects. I'm just trying to give you a brief summary of all the things that are involved in a mediumistic practice, so we can come to the end of this study and go more into understanding how is this important in our life, how we can deal with this, not only knowing the theory or hypothetical examples, but to go there, we have to go through these so you know what exists. We talked about mediumistic mediumship of physical effects. We talked about mediumship of intellectual effects. And here are important categories of mediumship, which are psychography, psychophony, alignment, and dialogue. In Portuguese, we have different names for these. So I'm trying to find more related definitions in English. Psychography is a practice in which the medium writes messages received from the spirits, often bringing comfort and clarity. It means the spirit will inspire the medium, and the medium will be able to write messages, bringing names and addresses or informations that the spirit has from the specific subject, and this message can bring comfort or clarity for many people. Francisco Xavier had, in his mediumship practice, a long list of mothers and parents that he comforted with messages from the grave, we say. The mothers and fathers, they used to come to Chico Xavier seeking information of the children that were deceased in accidents or very drastic or tragic passages. And he was able to bring messages from them. Now in Brazil, we also have other mediums doing this. But psychography is not only about that. It's also about beautiful messages that the spirits bring to comfort our people here. All the books you have with motivational messages, Fonte Viva and many other books, I think Jacques published one or two books in Norwegian with these messages that we used to read at the beginning of the meetings. So these messages are received using the psychography. Psycho, which is influenced by a spirit, and graphy is writing. Then we have the psychophony, which would be the influence of the spirit in the mind and the speech. Then this is the mediumship that allows the oral communication of a spirit through the medium. Kardec called it speaking mediumship. That is the faculty that provides the opportunity for spirits to contact to the world, engaging in conversations. It is still popularly known as incorporation. This is the old name we used at the beginning, or maybe 30 years ago, we were still using this. This term could be mistaken because it could suggest a false idea that the communicating spirit penetrates the medium's body, which is, in fact, impossible. This does not happen. The better terms would be to align or to synchronize, meaning the spirit comes close to the medium and start transmitting ideas or his own speech, and the medium grasps by his thought what the spirit is saying and transmits this to people that are listening. The spirit will align his perispirit with the medium's perispirit and then transmit his ideas, and sometimes angry ideas, sometimes sad, but always a message that he needs to communicate, and the medium acts as the intermediate on this work. That's why Kardec called this speaking mediumship. The dialogue is the other part of this friendly dialogue. Dialogue is a kind of psychotherapeutic counseling used to clarify obsessing spirits. It was created and developed by Allan Kardec in order to lead the spirits in need to the path of light, spirits that were lost, unconscious of the truth, disturbed. In the practice, through communication, the medium promotes the clarification of spirits connected to the wrong, evil, or unfair practice. This means the spirit in need comes close to the medium, like you can see on the picture above, and the medium transmits the speech of the spirit. Sometimes the spirit is disturbed, sometimes is angry, and then you have to have another person on the other side of the table, let's say, to talk to the spirit. If you were talking in this kind of work, you were not talking to the medium. You were talking to the spirit, trying to show him the light, explaining him about the suffering, explaining the life after that. Maybe you don't know, but many spirits come to the other side without even knowing they are dead. This is because the other side is different from here or similar from here, but the fact is that you can feel the same things you felt on Earth. You feel pain, you feel, the more connected to the material world you are, the more you will feel pain, thirsty, angry. You will feel the people around you, but they cannot see you. And then sometimes the spirits are lost or desperate because nobody sees them. Some spirits say, I'm in the hospital and nobody comes to see me. Or, why am I here? I was trying to go to my home, and then he had an accident, for example, and then he's lost. He doesn't know where he is. All this is discussed in a very protected environment in a mediumistic session with the dialogue person and the other person that is aligned to the spirit. And then this dialogue can help the spirit to enlighten himself, to bring understanding to him and help him follow to the right place he has to follow in the astral realm. The protectors that are helping in the meeting, they can use other kind of techniques to help you, to help the spirits. For example, this one in the picture below is showing to the woman that is incorporating the spirit, let's say, or aligned with the spirit, it's showing to her some images of the past. And then she can talk to the spirit and say, okay, you had this and that, but you can go to this place and you can have help and you can feel better. It's a very long conversation. And when you study the mediumship, you have to learn how to develop this sort of dialogue, always with love and always with your alignment to Jesus' teachings, to love the other and to help them as you would like to be helped. Because when you die, you do not cease to be yourself. You will not change or be a saint or understand everything just because you are dead. You will be the same person that were here on earth. And then you have to learn everything you can to be able to face all these challenges and difficulties you have on the passage. These were much more, these were more or less the informations we had to put about the mediumship practice, which is, like I said, very complex. Let's try to understand a little bit more about our emotions and how we can deal with this mediumship. uh, Mediumistic development and training. Self-knowledge is essential for mediumistic improvement. It allows psychics to understand their emotions and intuitions. The challenge for us is to know our emotions, because without knowledge, we make room for bad influences. We let the vanity, animism, mystification take root on us. When you don't understand what is happening around you, like I show on one of the slides, the feelings you can have. If you're if you were joyful and suddenly you were sad, you can understand, no, this is not mine. This can be an influence. So let's try to revert this with a prayer, with meditation, with walking on nature, or wherever thing makes you feel well. But this comes from self-knowledge and also knowledge about what is happening to you. If you don't know yourself, you might be a very easy victim to all these bad influences, because you might think, okay, this is me. I don't know what to do, but I'm feeling sad. And that's it. The spirits can bring you more suffering because you don't understand what is going on. And remember, I was saying before, we think that mediumship has to be ostentatious. You may think you were a medium only if you see spirits, or if you hear spirits talking, or more evident physical effects. No, we are mediums even in the common days, or with the common things that happen to us. We have to learn and understand ourselves. That's why the self-knowledge is so important, because only then we can differentiate between what is ours, what belongs to us, and what comes from spiritual influence. I found this movie, Divaldo Franco, on YouTube, but I really don't know if they have English subtitles. On the movie they made about Divaldo Franco's life and his mediumship, because he devoted his whole life to this. Since he was very young, he started seeing spirits, and he had a lot of trouble because his family didn't believe in it. And his family was very Catholic. They were going to church and seeing the priests and doing all the rituals in the Catholic Church. So everything related to spirits until today, my family was also Catholic. So they thought, oh, this is something from the devil. This is not good, because the spirits, no, there is no such thing. So Divaldo Franco had a very hard time aligning with his mediumship until he found a woman that helped him brought him to Salvador, and then he started studying and understanding what was going on with him. Since 1952, he founded this charity, which is a big work in Salvador and serves and shelters thousands of people. When he was very young, the movie shows us, he was very immature. He was full of fears because in the Catholic cosmology, we believe that we go to hell or to purgatory, that spirits are evil things and nothing like that can be part of our life. So he had very deep-rooted prejudices. He was vain because he thought himself as a very important person because he saw spirits. And one day he was invited to give a lecture in a different place. And he was very happy, and he was vain of this, of course, because he thought himself important. He was very young. And when he arrived there, uh, also, he had studied very little at this time, I think. And when he arrived there, the spirits didn't show up. And when he was facing the microphone, he didn't know what to say. He was so nervous. He was shaking, and he said, "Oh my God, what I will say?" He didn't know anything. And then the spirit of a very famous writer in Brazil, Humberto de Campos, he showed up to Divaldo because he used to see people as we see each other. He used to see spirits as we see people, but nobody else saw. So he saw Humberto de Campos, and he said, "You see, uh, this is for you to learn that vanity is not helping you. You were not ready. You didn't study enough. So you didn't have to accept this invitation to be here in a lecture for 200 people. But we will help you because we will not let all these people go without listening to what they came for. We will do this for the people, not for you." And then he learned his lesson. And he spent a long time learning and studying. And for many, many years, he was asked by his guardian, Joanna, to write, to use his psychography abilities. Every day at 11 p.m., he had to sit down and write a lot of things. After many, many years doing this, he had a pile of paper with the psychographies. And Joanna came and said, "Okay, now you are ready. Get the get the work you did, get the papers." And he got a pile of papers, big one. And she said, "Okay." And he was so excited, thinking, "Okay, let's publish this, let's do something with this." And she said, "Okay, now you get all these papers and you burn them in a fire." And he said, "What? To burn them after so many years doing this?" And she said, "Yes, you will burn them because this was only your training. Now the real work will begin." This is because he had a very important task ahead. He would publish around 300 books. So he had to be prepared and kind of clean the way to his thoughts and his feelings and all the animistic manifestations he could bring to the writing. He has to be a pure instrument. And that's why he had to train for so many years. And afterwards, he started doing his real work. This is for him that had a very important task. For us, it's just a matter of learning a little more about ourselves. The challenge of learning, knowing the emotions is so important that if we abandon ourselves to the current of life passively, like a leaf blown by the wind, events will not cease to have an influence on us. But it will take us a much longer time to accomplish the evolutionary task that is our main task in life. This means that if we just don't care, if we just live our lives like an automaton, waking up in the morning, having breakfast, going to work, pause for lunch, going home, maybe go to the beach, maybe sometimes go to the bar, talk to people, or stay home watching TV. This is a very empty life for a spirit that has so much potential. We can know much more. And all the events, the sufferings and the challenges and diseases and illness and difficult relationships, they will keep coming, they will keep happening, but we will not be prepared. So our evolution will be impaired, and we will take a much longer time to get to the right places and get closer to our perfection of origin. That's what we are doing with so many incarnations on earth. We are trying to learn as best as possible so we can get close to the perfection. And with this, we will get close to happiness as well, because we have some happy moments. Happiness is not something that is permanent, it's something that is built with life experiences, with challenges as well. And we have happy moments. The more we are in peace with ourselves, the more happy moments we can have. The challenge is study more, learn more. If, on the contrary, we enter the struggle with courage, this is the opposite of the previous slide. If we abandon ourselves to the current of life passively, like a leaf blown by the wind, or if we enter the struggle with courage and determination, facing obstacles and trying to overcome them face to face, our evolution will be more rapid in this period of increased activity, and we will reap the beneficial fruits of our intelligent effort. You can see that we are surrounded by shadows all the time. You don't have to go far. You just have to open your phone or watch TV, and you will see how our world is taken by the shadows. Everything is war, inflation, difficulties, lack of money, lack of support, people dying of hunger in Africa, um, people dying alone in many places, because solitude is a disease of our century. People are very far away of each other. They cannot connect the same way, because society and also digital media, it helped a lot people to be further from each other. The solitude is a very big challenge for us. So if we don't know ourselves, if we don't bring light to our lives by studying, understanding that life goes beyond this experience we are having, this is a very tiny moment in eternity, a very tiny one. This life from birth to death, 70 years, 80 years, 90 years we live on earth, is a blink of an eye on eternity. So the more we can learn, the more we can be prepared, using our sensitiveness and using our intelligence to shorten our path to perfection, the better we will feel, because we will be prepared to live in this very unbalanced and difficult world. You see here, the challenge of overcoming yourself also comes in the inner change, the reform, we say. Inner change frees the individual from the slavery of passions. Vices enslave the spirit in the flesh and continue to enslave him after death. Not being able to feel entirely satisfied by the absence of a body, the spirits assault mediums, linking to them and thus being able to smoke or to drink, among other things. They are also satisfied in some way, vampirizing or attacking in moments of weakness. People of the most different conditions, but endowed with a certain degree of sensitivity. This is part of the mediumship book explaining that we suffer the influence of spirits, like I said before, because you die, but you continue being the same person you were on earth. So if you had an addiction to smoke or to drink or other things, or to sex or to eat, you will continue being the same person. And it's a desperation because you cannot fulfill your desire on the other part because you don't have your body anymore. You cannot fulfill your wishes because you are a spirit. So you come closer to people that are doing the same things you used to do and you still like to do, and you try to get the emanation or the counterpart of this material. For example, the alcohol, you know the alcohol evaporates. So these molecules that are in the vapor are inhaled by the spirit. The difference is for the spirit to drink one bottle of wine or beer or vodka, or whatever alcohol you are using, for the spirit to drink one bottle of this, you have to drink 4 or 5 because he is not getting the liquid. He is only getting the molecules in the vapor. It means sometimes you can feel that the influence of the spirits is leading you to do more of what you were doing. And they sometimes don't do this because they are evil. They do this because they are lost or because they don't know order. They don't know how to do a different thing because they continue enslaved after that. That's why the author calls for the inner changes to free ourselves from the slavery of our vices, to try to help us to be more disconnected from the needs that were created by our society in this in our life on earth. The alcohol, the smoke, or sugar, or many other substances that we created and that made us to be dependent on them. All sorts of drugs, all kinds of drugs that are now very popular, they will interfere in our neurons. They will interfere in the synapses of our brain, but they will also interfere in our spirits. They will deform our original mode that we bring in our perispirit, and they can deform this in a way that in the next life, when you will form a new body, you will bring the same disturbances that you brought from the lives where you messed up with all the kinds of vices you had. This is not to be a sentence or to be a bad omen. This is only to understand that we reap what we sow. And this is one of the first laws we understand reading the Book of Spirits. Being a medium means, or being a medium that has more sensitiveness, means that you were not balanced in other lives. You had a lot of mistakes. You had a lot of lost time and opportunities. So in this life, you bring this extra sensitiveness, trying to help you to get in contact with this other life, get in contact with what is more important to the spirit evolution, which is definitely not having a car or a TV or a computer. What is more important for us is to develop our virtues, to being honest, to being kind, to be gentle, to be understanding, to help others, to develop the best part of us. So you have this extra sensitivity to help you seeing beyond the normal things and help you understand that you are an eternal spirit that is evolving through many lives and you still have many other lives to go until you get to the perfection. The need for study and improvement means that you have to learn to perceive what is around you. You have to learn what is yours and what is not yours, what is influencing you, what is a spirit bringing to your mind. And sometimes it's a very tricky and challenge understanding because even us that are studying for more than 30 years and know a lot about this doctrine, know a lot about philosophy and spiritism, even for people that have all the knowledge, including Divaldo Franco, for example, on the movie, he shows that there was a spirit following him and trying to make everything difficult for him during many years, because this spirit was a sort of partner with him during the Inquisition in the 1500s. And Divaldo did something very bad that made this spirit suffer and lose his family and lose his possessions. Therefore, this spirit was following him during many years, trying to do everything to damage the life of Divaldo, including putting ideas on his mind to end his life when he was very young. And that's why we have to learn what surrounds us. And we will only learn this when you know yourself, because you can differentiate this is mine, this is not mine. This is an influence. Even if you don't see, it doesn't matter. But you feel there is something different, there is something going on. And you start trying to fight this in a good way by praying, meditating, understanding, reading, watching good movies, listening to good music, all the things you can do to help you to bring back your balance. We have to understand that we radiate, it means we send and we receive back by the law of attraction. If you send bad thoughts, if you send bad words, if you send bad feelings, this is the same you will get back. And this is not some new age nonsense. This is physics. This is one of the natural laws we understand, because like attracts like. If you send something, you will get something. It's the same metaphor Jesus used. We cannot get grapes from fig tree. We cannot get apples from a pine tree. This is the same. Like attracts like. So if you send things to the universe, if you send things around you, you will get the same kind of things. Then it's important to learn thoughts, feelings, and attitudes. Having these specific vibratory patterns and the specific waves of energy will attract the same waves of energy. It's important to learn about your sensitivity. If you have a high sensitivity, the more important it is to learn how to deal with this and to accept the mediumship as an accelerator for evolution, like I was saying. You have to have an extra sensitivity to go further and do more because you like to do this in other lives. This is a very important part of our discussion today. Let me remove here. Okay. The challenge to improve yourself. You can see on this image, which is very clear. The process of moral and spiritual improvement is like a detox. Hidden areas of our personality need to come to the surface in order to be released. When we ask to be healed, everything that is preventing us from growing will be forced to the surface. The process of change is painful, but if we go through this with an awakened mind and deep awareness, it can lead us to a lasting evolutionary leap. This is some this is like some healing process we have using homeopathy, homeopathia. I don't know the word in English. Homeopathic uh, medicine, I think. This is the same process, or other processes that when you are about to cure yourself of something, you can pay attention that sometimes things get even worse, even more difficult than before, because before things were like everything was under the carpet. All the dust, all the dirty things were hidden. You don't have to deal with this. But when you decide to deal with this moral and spiritual improvement, you decide to face the dark sides of yourself. You decide to face your shadow. You decide to be a better person. Therefore, this comes to light. And then you face this, and oh my God, this is so difficult. This is so painful. We always say that change is really painful, because when you see all the things, sometimes you think, no, this is too much. I won't be able to win this war. But you will, because this is just for a moment. When you are able to see straight on the face of these challenges, you can get them by the hand and throw them away. Definitely. When you have an awakened mind and deep awareness, when you know yourself, when you know the concepts of evolution in a way, it will help you to deal with such difficult things like it is here. The struggle against our passions is terrible. Only those who have a strong spirit, a firm will, and faith can triumph over them, especially faith in the light and in the forces that come to us from above. It took us centuries to achieve so little and to reach the situation we are today. It will not be by the simple idea or desire for improvement that we will be able to rise to greater heights. It takes work on yourself. It takes courage, like we said before. There is no awakening of consciousness without pain. People will do anything to avoid facing their own soul. Like I said before in the previous image, we saw all this darkness coming from us. We saw all this shadow coming from inside. Therefore, we will do anything to avoid facing this. We don't even know exactly what we have inside, but we know it's something we don't want to deal with in that moment. No one becomes enlightened by imagined figures of light, rather by becoming aware of darkness. That's what this image says in Portuguese. It's like you were reaching for your own demons inside of you. Because Buddha used to say, our worst enemy is not outside. It's not a person that comes from our external world. Our worst enemy lives inside us. Is our mind always thinking about bad things or being negative or pessimist? Our bad habits, our lack of courage or determination to study and being a better person on our everyday life. That's the demons we have inside. That's the most difficult parts we have to deal with every day. So we have to have the courage and determination to reach for these shadows and face them while we have time, because then we are able to cure ourselves, to face all these and get to the end of our lives in a better state than when we were young. And to conquer this self-defense, this is also a part of the book from Trance and Mediumship. It says, prayer is the appropriate resource to raise help in the face of our moral deficiencies. Through prayer, we connect ourselves to the superior spirits. Meditation gives special conditions for the emission of prayer because it calms the mind, keeps the thought firm and without variations, which strengthens its emission. It means the emission of the prayer is better when we meditate, because by meditating we learn how to breathe and calm our minds. When we think many things at the same time, the thoughts are weak, have no consistency, and the prayer is the same. Also has no consistencies, is weak. The single concentrated thought is strong and powerful in frequency, capable of emitting short, penetrating, and long-range mental waves. The habit of prayer also greatly favors affinity with the good spirits. Many of our moral deficiencies are practically neutralized by prayer when it allows good spiritual references to be absorbed by us. It also guarantees us a lot of moral strength, freeing us even from difficult moments. This is really important to know, because the first thing we learn in religions is that prayer is something that is silly or only for religious people to do. And prayer is something that doesn't make any difference, because we learn to do our prayers reading in books, ready prayers. And what we learn from Jesus is to pray with the heart. Prayer can be a conversation with God. You can talk to God because He lives inside you. And He will produce penetrating and very intense mental waves. The prayer will carry your message, and the messengers, the spirits that surrounds you, the protectors, the guides, the familiar spirits that are trying to help you in many ways, they will receive these mental waves in your prayer, and they will try to help you. And as you can see, these different waves we create with the prayer and meditation, for example, they will neutralize the bad things we are feeling. Because during meditation, you also learn to breathe. And this, according to Dr. Sergio Oliveira, who studies the pineal gland, when you breathe through the nose, the oxygen goes directly to the brain and oxygen the brain, bringing calm and concentration and help your heartbeat to decrease and making the blood flow in your body in a different way. That's why it's so important. To pray is not only to beg for something from God. It's to offer your gratitude for being alive, for having everything that you have, for living in a peaceful country, for having friends and family, or for having the opportunity to learn, for being able to listen when many people are not able to, for having your eyes to see the beauty, for being able to go på tur and enjoy nature, which is so wonderful in Norway. And this gives you a lot of strength and free you from difficult moments. And you can see that after a moment of meditation or prayer, you can breathe more calm, you can feel better, you can see things in a different way, and you can even see things you were not able to see before. This is how important prayer is. So to conclude our study for today, we have to say that mediumship is a field that is very complex. It involves spiritual phenomena, subjective experiences, things that come from inside you. Therefore, it provides us with a deeper understanding of human spirituality, revealing connections that go beyond the physical and material world. The understanding of mediumship is a continuous and infinite journey, and it's so important to understand more about this uh, ability that everybody has, but not everybody has the same level, but everybody has the sensitiveness. And some of us are trying to disguise or to close these uh, in very inside very heavy doors, and then you don't get in contact with this. But getting in contact with understanding your mediumship and the spirituality will bring you a lot of joy, because you will feel more as a whole. Lacking a part of you when you don't understand this very important ability, it's incomplete. Then you feel incomplete. Then it's also a void inside your chest. It's like it's missing something and you even don't know what. That's why it's so important to study. Uh, Mediumship also has a social impact, because the mediumistic practice influences people's culture and perceptions of spirituality and the afterlife, thus bringing hope and a broader understanding of human suffering, challenges, and relationship. When we had this case, when there was this case in Norway, let me see how I can stop. Yes, now I have only my window. When we had this case in Norway in 1934, the society embraced the idea of uh, mental problems or abuse of the use of mediumship, with the false materializations, with the false mediums trying to get attention from the public. But it's also a problem with the public that is seeking for the same important things, seeing in spirit. Oh, I want to see with my eyes. If I don't see, then it's not true. And that's why some of these fake phenomena still exists, because we are still seeking for phenomena. While we look for this, it will be mediums trying to fake this to get attention, just like in digital media, the influencers are always seeking attention. Okay? So let's try to look more inside ourselves. Let's try to know ourselves better. Let's try to understand better about the feelings and the influences and the ability we have to see beyond, and center ourselves in a way that we can be in contact with good spirits. Let's finish the study now, and then you will be able to ask some questions if you want. Okay, Sonia, you can finish recording.